needs are. So are you doing business locally, globally, you know, and what's your population? So we take a look at, let's say you've hired 400 Hispanics in your manufacturing facility here in the U.S. So we look at, do you need your handbook translated? Do you need interviews, you know, simultaneous interpreting during like HR meetings? And then do you need language training, either Spanish for the supervisors or do you need English for the 400 employees? Internationally, obviously, it followed the same pattern.
And so when you went to the LPGA, or when they came to you, what did they do?
Well, you know, I think they say that what, maybe 95 girls from 29 different countries. So all of our services actually they use. I mean, they use the cross-cultural training as they get prepared to go overseas to the 12, 13, 14 international tournaments they have. So we come in, we talk about Malaysia and what to do as they greet fans or sponsors or, you know, as they're during a pro-am. So we help them to get ready that way. We also do language training. So we meet with the girls at tournaments. We meet with them via Skype. We meet with them even in their hometown. We help them learn another language. We're currently doing like Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and English for LPGA girls. Then we also do the simultaneous human type interpreting for them, and we translate lots of documents for them for their intranet and their extranet.
And how do you do it? You talked about the language training for girls. How do you?
Again, we look at their needs. So some of them are very interested in sort of promoting their brand overseas. So some want to take it to Japan. And in those cases, we really want them to learn key phrases, to talk about the sponsors, to talk about, you know, to make the sponsors feel like, you know, they're $1 million. So we're really helping them to engage the sponsors. I think, you know, for some of the players that have come here to the United States, we obviously are helping them to be more fluent. We go all the way from basic language skills all the way up to somebody may have come here and done a master's degree, but then they want media training. They want to know how to be on air. They want to perfect their writing. They want to be able to send emails. They want to talk to the sponsors. They want to put their best foot forward also.
And you do cultural, it's a cultural training forever, it's cultural training as well. What does that mean?
You know, if we were sitting here in China, we probably wouldn't be doing the same things. You know, I might be looking down. I probably, you know, wouldn't be looking straight at you. You would probably defer to me since I've been in the business. A teacher is respected. So we help them understand those things, that people have different cadences. They have different views. They have different worldview. We're helping them to be comfortable. And so, you know, they don't step in it as they go overseas and do things internationally.
And what are, you know, the nuances?
Well, you know, we had the book that came out a while ago, Kiss, Bow, and Shake Hands. Well, it's a lot more than that. So, you know, physical space, touch, eye contact, the way you use language, rhythm, intonation, all those things go into a package. So we really put it, you know, and if you're going further in that, we look at it in terms of hierarchy, respect, leadership, all those male and female relationships. So we help them to understand those kind of things.
How many languages do you speak?
You know, that's a trick question. Everybody wants to know, you know. We had to study a few languages when I was in school, so it depends on how far you're going. You know, if you want me to say hello in 20 languages, I can certainly do that. And then we have a proficiency model. So, you know, I'm pretty proficient in 4 or 5 languages and can get by with some others. And, you know, so we're all learning, aren't we?
What about your company?
We're based in Indianapolis, Indiana. You can check us out at languagetrainingcenter.com. But we did over 109 languages last year. So, you know, we do get around. I think in the world, we know linguistically, languages have shrunk from maybe 16,000 25 years ago to 6,000 today. But, you know, the main languages, maybe they're 10 or 12. We did over 100 last year. So, that's, you know, that's pretty good.
What do you find the LPGA players, the majority of them, what do they want?
You know, I think they put their shoes and socks on just like you and I do. I think the LPGA players, again, if you're talking about the foreign-born players who have come to the United States, they really want to feel comfortable. They want to have confidence as they speak. They want to, you know, look and act proficient. They want to just be natural with their idiomatic expressions. We have this schema when we study language. If you and I talked about sports or we talked about shopping or Broadway, we would immediately click into what we're talking about and we'd go with But somebody coming from a new language or a new culture doesn't have that schema. They don't have the language, they don't have the idioms and the expressions, and then sometimes a little bit of pronunciation, slows them down, or a little bit of the grammar slows them down. So we want them to get past all that. We want them to feel confident and express themselves and be just as they are in their first language. Now, if you're going the other way, and you're just starting out in a new language, it's not that easy, and so we're really helping them to be comfortable with the 10 or 20 phrases they know, that they speak them fluently. We say that we speak, 6 to 8 syllables per second, so we don't want them to speak like this, when they go to a new culture. So we really help them to understand what they need to be doing in that language so that they sound, sort of native.
What do you think, I mean, I know the LPGA uses you for many things, but in terms of that, the language training, what do you think the LPGA wants out of the players?
Well, I think when they first approached us, to be honest, it was more focused on the English language training. I think today, with Mike Whan and Mike Whan's vision, I mean, it's a global tour, and so I think they're really just making this service available to all the girls. Some of them are studying Korean because, there's a lot of interest in Korea, a lot of tournaments, a lot of sponsors. Japan, the same thing, a lot of tournaments, a lot of sponsors, a lot of opportunities. And so I think the LPGA really wants these girls to be able to do their craft on a global scale, and they're taking them there, and so they want to help them to, be comfortable and confident.
You mentioned, Mike Whan. This actually, I guess, this started before he was in office, I guess. But of course, there was a controversial, move by the former Commissioner Bivens saying, we want these girls to learn how to speak English, and if they don't, we're going to penalize them or whatnot. Were you already on board when she was? That came after that. What did you make of that? Is that a way for someone to learn, or?
Well, that's really tricky, isn't it? Because let's say I have a private company here in the United States. I can require my employees, obviously, to speak English if I want to, but it's really tricky. What do I mean by that? Do I mean there's a proficiency level of listening or speaking, a certain vocabulary, a certain grammar? So you really have to go very deep in how are you going to assess them, who's going to assess them, what kinds of skills. So I think, the LPGA had a good heart, but I think they were really trying to figure out how that would come about. And I think they wanted to help all the girls to again, feel comfortable. I don't know that they had it all worked out quite yet.
And so you come in.
We do, yeah.
And I mean, were you thinking, okay, I got the backstory, I'm not sure how now I have to bridge that gap, because it certainly wasn't a popular backstory.
No, that was the story of the day when we came in. Everybody wanted to know that. And I think, again, we've been around for 18 years, and so we just did our job. I mean, again, like you started the interview, you said, hey, if I'm a businessman and you come to me here in the United States, what would you do?
We gotta wait for a second. Oh, sorry.
You don't need to put anything on my glare or anything?
No, there's no glare. No, we're good. We're doing good. Well, breakfast one. So, I mean, there had to be, from players, some type of resistance, I would imagine.
Actually, when we came in, the LPGA said, now, I'm not sure how many girls are going to want to sign up. I don't know how many players are really going to be interested. So don't get your hopes up, and let's see what happens. Well, immediately out of the gate, I think because our methodology is so different. I mean, if we've studied another language here in the United States in high school or college, we do the free stay play, we fill in the blank, and we hit a piñata. We don't do that. I mean, we get them jumping right in there. It's communicative. It's fast-paced. We don't care what material we're really using because it's authentic. It's at their level, I+1. They feel confident, and so we really help these girls to immediately see the progress and see what they could do. And I think it just, we had 20, 30 girls sign up within 3 tournaments, and so they really felt more comfortable in interviews. They felt more comfortable in sponsor events.
Do you think that they also felt less threatened when it wasn't going to be, hey, you're going to do this, you're going to be penalized, or whatever, and then they see how you went about it and said, okay, this isn't such a bad one?
Definitely, because it was completely turned around. The paradigm went from, the stick to the carrot. We're going to help you now. We're going to partner with you. We're going to come along. We're going to provide you with this training. And I know the LPGA took a long time to decide who they were going to partner with and what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. So, we had been waiting and we were patiently waiting. We got got into the, we have a website called WeSpeakSports.com, and so we've been doing race drivers, in Indianapolis for 10, 15 years. We've done NBA players. We work with Major League Baseball teams the same. So we were sort of waiting. We knew what we could do, but, LPGA got it right. They did it well.
That said, the players themselves are actually paying.
They are.
For the services. The LPGA, are they paying for anything, or they're paying a retainer, I guess, if you will, and then the actual lessons are on the players themselves?
That's right. And I think, as Mike says, he wants the girls to have some skin in the game. And, even when we go into a company, I like that a little bit, because let's say you're not paying. What motivates you to show up, to be on time, to do your homework, to study, to implement? If I'm giving you something free, you really have no motivation, no skin in the game. And so I think it was a good idea. I was a little skeptical at first. I thought, really? But I think it's been perfect. Done very well.
How often are you I don't know that.
Every tournament. Either me or one of my staff. I spend a lot of time in China, so I'll be at that tournament. I usually go to Canada. What do we have this year? 12 stateside tournaments. It's not hard for me to get to, 10 of them.
How popular have you seen it become?
I think it's very popular. I'm standing by the green out in Arizona, and Paula Kramer calls me over. I can tell her body language, and she said, I'm going to hit Japanese hard this year, Martin. And I say, okay, we're here. So they know us, they know who we are. We have the shirts, we have the hats, and so they're approaching us, and I think they're very interested.
How important is it? One thing I forgot to mention is the pro-am aspect of it.
It's huge.
One thing, to deal with media and whatnot, but the pro-am thing, that's every week you're with somebody new. At least in media, you might have some familiarity with them. If you're not playing that well, you can avoid them entirely. So how important is the pro-am aspect, particularly the LPGA?
Well, I think it's huge from so many aspects. One, that's the bread and butter, that they're paying a lot of sponsorships. These are big players. But if you think about you and I having a conversation, if we were sitting on the veranda here, you'd say, hey, where are you from? How long are you going to be here? Blah, blah, blah. The same questions happen every week in a program. So again, we're helping them with the schema. We're helping them to anticipate what conversation's coming. We help them, even tell jokes or make the people feel friendly, to understand. You and I, we feel uncomfortable if somebody looks different or acts different or sounds different or even smells different. So the girls sometimes are put off by how you and I sort of act in those programs. I even won one last year in Springfield, Illinois. So, the girls really don't know that when we're sort of, patting them on the shoulder, if you're an Asian, that can be, especially the Japanese, that can be very affrontish to them. And so we're helping them to say, hey, this person's not being rude, they're not trying to do anything, and so they really get comfortable then. And then they can stop thinking about the culture, stop thinking about the language, be themselves, and it really does snowball.
Is it almost, for this, this organization, is it almost more important? Most people would say it's more important for media training for these people, but is it almost more important for this organization because of the way their business models and the way they're trying to establish themselves and keep up, that the pro-am is more important even than the media training?
You want my personal opinion?
Yeah.
I would say it's more important for the fans and the pro-am, and here's why. You have some of these girls, when they come off on the 18th and they walk down that tunnel, I stand there and watch them. They shake everybody's hands. Sandra Gall, when she won, she signed everybody's autograph. She greeted every person. She made them feel special. You don't know who's, if it sponsors kids standing there with a ball that, they just make them feel like $1 million. So, some of these players really get it. And that's the same thing about a program. You have no idea who it is you're playing with sometimes and what they're thinking. I think it's huge. And, I think if they're in that right mindset while they're out there, they're being themselves and being friendly, and they're not trying to not be that way. I hear all the time, these girls aren't being too friendly, they don't warm up to me. Well, it's not because they don't want to. Sometimes it was a cultural and a linguistic sort of barrier, and so I think we're overcoming that now.
What do you ultimately hope is the end result of this?
Yeah, I hope we put us out of business for English, and then, we get it the other way. I'd love to be teaching Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Spanish the whole time here. We're living in a global world. They say the world's flat. That's what they tell me, don't they? And so, we hope that we get it here in the United States, that we're all involved in the global community.